Who do I pray to, or how do I pray? Well, you have to understand, what is prayer, first of all? That's the first question. Because, obviously, if you come from a religious background, the whole point of prayer is that you're praying to someone.
Begging.
Yeah, begging them for something. But the thing is, it's meant to be a communication.
That's right.
It's meant to be a two-way communication. And so when you ask for something, how do you know they're even hearing you? Does God have ears?
According to the Bible,
So how's he going to hear you if he hasn't got any ears? Is he a spirit or is he physical? Because if he's got ears, or maybe, I don't know, there's some kind of
he's got spiritual ears.
spiritual ears, isn't it? That's No, on a serious note though, that we're not trying to take like the mickey out of people that, you know, are religious, but we just make it, we make it so it's practical, so you can really think about it, yeah? So prayer is meant to be a communication. Like, imagine picking up the phone right now and calling us, and you're just holding on the phone, there's no one responding. There's no one on the other side of the line, so you're just waiting, or you're just talking to yourself. So when you say prayer, we've broken down, you got pray, P-R-A-Y, and you got pray, P-R-E-Y. And you have to remember that when you say words, it's about the tone, the vibration, and the frequency. So the words can be spelt differently, but sound the same and have a different effect. So prayer is the art, as my brother was saying, of talking and they're not listening. So you can imagine how many prayers have you said all your life, or like asked for things and you never get them. So that means that, who you're meant to, we don't use the word pray, we say, you know, we communicate with our ancestors, and that's who really can help you. That's who is tied to your bloodline, to your DNA, and they can actually affect whatever it is that you want to happen in the physical.
Give reverence and respect.
Yeah,
That's it.
and how you do it, obviously, we have rituals and, you know, nothing, when we say the word ritual, we always have to explain that we don't have any type of offerings in terms of like blood, cutting locks off, or giving hair, or animals, or any of that kind of stuff, yeah? So we just say you open a portal as a communication channel to speak with your ancestors, who will then, you know, reciprocate and give you what you need if they deem what you need to be what you need. Because sometimes people think they need something and they don't actually need it, you know? So there's a big difference from desiring something, wanting something, and actually needing something. Okay, let's keep going. Bruska noise, Rahubat, brothers again. In the Holy Tablets, chapter 1, verse 21, it says that the Melanonites created the universe. Could you elaborate on how this was achieved? And did they create our sun and the planets? Yes, absolutely. You got to remember that these beings, our ancestors, have elevated to such a point where they're pure energy beings, and they're able to manifest things, and, you know, they're like using their pure power, you know, and so they create and design galaxies and universes, and that's go on.
9 ether conscious gas.
Yep, that's what 9 ether is. Okay, so we have a caller. Rahubat. Hey, Jamal, Rahubat. Rahub, Jamal.
Robert.
Rahubat.
I got a question for you, man.
For the audience, let us know where you're calling from, and where you're located in the world.
Okay, well, I'm Jamel. I'm calling from Atlanta.
Okay, Atlanta, Georgia.
And my question,
ATL.
is about DNA.
Yeah.
And so pretty much, I don't know if you heard of this guy who it did DNA tracing on ancient Egypt, ancient Egyptians, and they traced the like haplogroups like E1, B1A, and stuff like that. And I wanted to get your thoughts on DNA tracing and that the fact that ancient Egypt or ancient Egyptian have the E1, B1A haplogroup.
Right. I'm not familiar with the guy you're referring to, but what was the outcome, or what's the point of what he's saying?
That you can actually trace through DNA of different ancestors of ancient Egypt. You know, a lot of people say the Coptic people were Egyptian.
Yes.
But he did like a genealogy tracing or DNA tracing.
Yes.
It goes back to the 15 BCE era, and you can trace it more further just based on
Yeah,
DNA.
I got you now. Yeah, because the thing is that when people talk about Egypt and they use the word Egypt, they don't sometimes realize that there were times where we didn't even use the word Egypt. That's the rendition by the Greeks from Aegyptos, which is really
Burnt face.
yeah, relating to the burnt faces. So those beings that came into Egypt and got burnt, and also that we predate the dynasties, because most of the time people quote the different dynasties, and they talk about a time period where Khufu relaxed the immigration rules and allowed other races to come in terms of like, you know, the Phoenicians or the Europeans and so forth and so forth. And so people think that what they call Egypt, or a specific period of time where you had Europeans, because even like, you know, about people like Alexander the, I was going to say the
Not
great.
great.
Alexander the not so great, who came there. And so one basically said you can trace DNA and find DNA of beings that came into Egypt. But as you said, like when you look at the 25th dynasty with Sargon, you said it today, what's his name? Sargon, Tao, and Tahaka. Is it
Oh,
Tahaka?
yeah.
Yeah, they fought and basically drove a lot of the Europeans out. But yes, in terms of when you look at DNA, that's the science of our ancestors, because when they mummified, that was to preserve the DNA for generations, because they knew that the time will come where Europeans, as they do, they go around the world trying to find where they come from, and they will dig up our ancestors' tombs and take, you know, the DNA and things like that. And
yeah, there's a lot of that.
Right. So go ahead.
So my big question is, you know, it's a lot of people that claiming they have ancient Egyptian heritage.
Yeah.
You know, I guess the modern Egyptians today, to African Americans, to Sudanese, to the Bantu.
Yeah.
So these DNA tracing have, I think it's definitely a thing to look into, to see who was the real people.
Right. Yeah.
But what group was that? And that and do you think these? Because like, you know, I always looked at Coptic people as maybe they have a little mixture of Egyptian.
This is what I was trying to say, that when you go to Egypt, for anybody who takes the time to go to Egypt, when you, like the city of Cairo today, when you go there and you see what they're calling Egyptians, they're not the original Egyptians. Even like, you know, you got Luxor, you've got Aswan,
Kamombo.
yeah, so but the real ones have been pushed away. So when you go to Aswan, this is where you see the dark, you know, the ones that are the closest to nine ether as possible. But yet the Arabs, because the word Arab is actually relating to how those the mixture came in. So even when people say Nubia, when they go to Nubia, they're not realizing that Nubia is describing that mixture where you started to get that caramel looking type of complexion, because the original Nubons, which is where they get the word Nubia from, that Nubons go back to those original Pataites, which predate what they're calling the dynastic period and goes back to the being we know as Ptah and the Pataites. So this is why when we speak, we always refer to ourselves as the ancient Egyptians. You see, because one of the tricks is you have modern and modern languages, modern Egypt, modern. Even now, when you go to Egypt, they got modern. One side is the modernization, and then you've got like the old side, which, you know, the pyramids and everything are in, you know, in Giza, and they now starting to. They like basically ruins now. So over time, what they're doing is to basically kind of like slowly get rid of that. And this is one of the things that the master said, you know, if you want to visit, but it's literally like a graveyard,
yeah, literally.
you know, and it's just ruins of our ancient great past. And so he rebuilt Tamaray of the West, which, look at that.
Yeah.
He rebuilt Tamaray of the West with the most important parts of it for us to learn and know about our culture, you know. So, but our ancestors were smart. They knew that DNA was going to be that science in the future that will set the record straight with letting everyone know. So you see the Arabs, because remember that Arabs come from Hagar, right? Hagar was one of the wives of Abraham, who birthed Ishmael.
Yeah.
And it tells you about she was wandering in the desert and all that, and she had to go back home. So that's where they come from. And the word Arab, as if in the car today, they have cars named Arabia. That's what they use for it, which is
I thought
just.
they came from Arcadia.
Yeah, that's part of the mixtures of those beings that also came there. So yes, you're right. But if you're looking at it from the biblical perspective, it is the son of Abraham and Hagar, known as Ishmael, and that was wandering, and that's where they get that whole caramel looking, what they call desert Arabs today. But they claim in Egypt to be theirs.
Yeah, so you think they doing a lot of I won't say whitewashing.
Yeah, that's the exact term.
That's what they're doing.
Because they say that they're doing the restoration, and then they repaint, and then the nose go from being big noses to alkaline noses, and like you see a lot of the art, and over time, it gets whitewashed.
Yeah, literally. Yep.
Yeah, I noticed that because they don't even refer themselves as African, even though.
That's right. They don't think they're Africans, and you're like, but Egypt's in Africa. So.
Yeah. Even when I spoke to some Egyptians, they call themselves Mistos.
Yeah.
Something like that. And they call themselves mixed. I'm just like, okay, well, if we're mixed, then what are you mixed with?
Exactly. So that's where the DNA today just settles any arguments. And when they dig up the pharaohs and they take the DNA and they find out that it's, you know, of the Negroid stock, it's quite quietly pushed to the side kind of thing, you know. But like the master says, you know, we don't really dwell on, you know, the past. We want to deal with the living Egyptians, which is the ones that are all over the world right now living, because we're the descendants of those original beings, Pataites.
So that brings me to my next question is that, okay, so we all know, you know, these modern Egyptians today is not the ancient Egyptians. In fact, I call them Egyptians, while the other people who are real ancient Egyptians are Kemetic. So,
well, that's what I'm saying. Those words like Kemetic, they still use technology to tie you into the Bible, because Chem ties back to Ham, and, you know, then you think, you know, Noah's sons and so forth. So we call those beings Tamarayans or Pataites. That would be a better, or newborns. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right.
I mean, this scroll here, the master teacher put, I call in the coming forth by day, which most people call the Book of the Dead. Goes into a lot of detail of you know, what I'm referring to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that brings me to to the point is now, okay. So who is more closely to ancient newborns than or Pataids of today? Would you say Western and Central Africans, or would you say Eastern Africans like Sudanese, Ethiopians, or would you say more Southern where it comes to like Bantu?
The thing is that if you get hold of the scroll, the Proverbs of Yanun, that blue one under there, right? There's a diagram, which, because remember you also had that whole experiment with the being referred to as Yakub. So when you look at Africa today,
You said Yakub? Who's that?
yeah, Yakub, who grafted the Fluger rods. This might be new information to you, but yeah, you'll see that. I think there's a map at the beginning.
This one? Another one?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to refer to something in a minute, but he went along the coastline of Africa, and that's why if you look at the beings around the coast, they're more like alkaline and kind of 6 ether looking, like you were saying, like that type of Eritrea kind of look, where you see they have mostly kind of like straight hair. But if you look at the Sudanese or Sudan, which was more of the original beings from the Dongolawe, which ties back into, you know, the beings that, if you look at this diagram, let me just show you. Yeah, this diagram here. They probably won't see it, but it explains and shows you how the landing site of beings was the Egg Island in Antarctica, where Nuwapu was set up, and then from the Indian Ocean, you see the beings that came out of that, like the Kalahari Desert, from the Kalahari Desert, which is dealing with the Sands people. Those are the newborns I'm talking about. These Sands people of South Africa, those are really the closest to those original Pataites. And so, yeah, when you start to go into what I said, Dongala, which is really dealing with Sudan, Ethiopia, yeah, that's the original, that's what, it's like more central, Central Africa. Because the reason that Jacob's grafted beings, they couldn't go into Central Africa because back then, like, even now, I think, like, the mosquitoes and certain insects would attack and kill them. They'll die from things like malaria, and even till today, it's still quite serious. So they couldn't go inside Central Africa, so they kind of ended up around the coastline. And yeah, so then it's from the Dongala, where you start to get a bit further, where you go to what they're calling Arabia, and then there's a branch to India, South India, which ties into the Tamil Nadu, or the Camel people, to Australia and New Zealand, you know. So yeah, this diagram in this scroll called Proverbs of Yanun goes into how we came out of the waters and went into Central Africa, and then basically branched out into the different areas, like to Central Asia. Why are we getting that echo? All right, so yeah, I hope that's helped.
My question is, okay, I know, and even in DNA, we have a difference between West and Central Africans and East Africans, even in DNA.
Yes.
So that's why I was confused, because even though you say that the Sudanese and that went from Sudan to Central to East Africa, you would kind of put them in that same haplogroup, which is, I think, is EABA or something like that. But it's not E1B1A, something different because of the haplogroups and the DNA.
Yeah, as I said, I have to look at that that study and see what this person. What's the person's name? Do you know the name that did the research?
I forgot his name.
Okay, but we'll look into it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll call next time
Yeah,
and
by next week we'll look into the study and see what they're really saying. But the reality is that we are those beings today, those original beings today. That's the DNA. That's why they've broken it down into like the Homo habilis, the Homo naledi, which deals with the original stock, and then the Denisovan and Homo florensis dealing with the Asian stock, and finally the Neanderthal dealing with and the Cro-Magnon dealing with the Caucasian. All right, let's see if we've got so many questions already. So yeah, we answered that question of who do you pray to and how do you pray. That's something that we have books called the Ashutat and
Tafur,
yeah.
El Mugawaj.
But remember, prayer and the way it's explained comes from religion, which we're not really, you know what I mean? We're not really dealing with it from a religious concept. We're dealing with it from a communication to our ancestors perspective. Okay, we've covered that one too. I shook everyone. Already? Excuse me.
Keep them flowing in, man.
Rahul back caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from? And what's your question, please?
Hey, brothers, it's Akkad again. And I'm Arizona.
Rahul back.
And my question is I was doing some research, and was the great King Sargon? Is that who are they referring to him in the Bible?
Yeah, that's who they're referring to as Nimrod in the Bible. The son of Cush.
So,
yeah.
So what I was seeing, it has to do with the Zionist families, like the Rothschilds and all that.
Yes.
And they claim that they come from Nimrod, that their bloodline comes from Nimrod. But from my research, Nimrod is melanated.
Correct. The reason they say that is because in Masonry, they recognize him as being obviously I can't go too deep into the details of that, but they recognize him as the first Mason because he was a builder. They refer to him as the mighty hunter, and he was obviously tied into what they call building the Tower of Babel. But we know that that whole story was not really anything to do with the tower itself. It was more to do with language and building a communication device or an antenna to basically communicate directly, you know, without going through like Enlil and Enki. And he changed the vibration and the frequency that they were broadcasting to control the people. And that's why they had to come down when he said, let us go down. And these gods apparently God came down to confound and confuse them. Because because he went to Africa and learned Nuwapic or Misbatia, which is his father's language. And by doing that, it was able to block the frequencies and the telepathy that they were using from Nibiru to control, you know, those beings so that they could be slaves and work for them.
Yep.
So he basically liberated them by coming back and teaching them a different frequency or vibration in terms of the language. I think we did a video recently called Speaking of Language. If you haven't seen that, that goes into that part of that. There's a part of that called Speaking of Language that deals with that whole story in great detail.
So was King Sargon a good being then? Was he good? And then they just corrupted his teachings in a sense, or just him in general?
Well, you see, the thing with good and bad is subjective. It depends on who's looking at the action as being good or looking at the actions as doing bad. But in his case, he was originally good, just like most people, and then somewhere along the line, he started to be very egotistical and started, just like the story of Enki, where he was mining the gold at first, and then he started wearing the gold, and then he started becoming the one that everybody was like putting on a pedestal and worshipping. It's the same thing with Sargon, or his real tones is Nim Ma Ra. they say Nimrod. But yeah, he started. So to answer the question, he started off agreeable, but then became disagreeable, and obviously, yeah, as I said, the Europeans, they pick up on that, and then they look up to him and claim him, just like, you know, many people claim characters, and then turn it to being theirs, and without knowing it's like they claim Tahuti,
Yeah.
and call him Thoth, and you think it's a different person, but that's again part of this technology. Yeah.
So then was Samaria not before Egypt? Is that a lie?
It is a lie. That's another part of the trick, yeah, because
Okay.
yeah, but see, the thing is, when you say Egypt, Egypt is a totally
Say
different.
Kemet.
Yeah, or
Even Kemet.
Even Kemet. That's what I'm saying. These are the words they use, and then when you get there, they have this dynasty thing, and then it's like Pandora's box, where it creates a lot of division and racism, because you'll have people that support one dynasty over another dynasty, and like the master was like, yeah, when they use words like and say Sumer or Shinar, Sumeria was predating Egypt, is not true, because scientists have found, even in the language book that we've got, they find artifacts and things in Sumeria that are from Egypt, that predate a lot of the things in Sumeria. But that's again one of the trick, because remember that when you're dealing with Sumer, this is the Anunnaki, where they kind of set up, and that's where you get the religious books through Abraham and his father Terah. So they will support Sumer and say that the Sumerians were first or before the Egyptians, but it's back to front. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, brother. I don't want to
No
hold
problem.
up any more of your time. I appreciate you.
Appreciate love. Tau, Wadu.
Wadu.
You don't have that little speaker thing today.
It's his mic.
Oh, right, that's right. But can you still hear properly on that?
Yeah. Hold it up.
Okay, let's get back to the chat and for the questions. We covered that already. To be alive right now at the same time period as the master teacher, Pana Babyanun, is insane. Yeah, this is a confirmation that our incarnation in this time calls for something greater than we realize. Yeah, Bruska, you're 100% right. It's amazing to be living in this day and time with this new sun cycle, with the master teacher coming. And yeah, it's a blessing.
Beautiful time to
Beautiful
be
time.
Yeah.
Great and dreadful day. Rahubat caller, what's your name? Where you calling from, and what's your question, please?
Hi, Sakin. This is Seven calling you again. I think I've called twice now.
That's okay, Rahubat.
Good, thank you. So, I just wanted to tell you something funny. A while back,
Yeah.
you were saying how the chicken came first and how it was created.
Yeah.
Now that's the crave that's on Instagram now. They're saying how chickens are fake and how they was created and everything.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
What came first, the chicken or the egg? And I'm like, the chicken definitely came first.
How did it come then?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But one question. So let me ask you really quick. So,
Sure.
You said it before, but could you tell me the breakdown of when these religions were created? Because you said like Christianity was like 2,000 years old, and like
That's right.
Islam was 6,000 years old.
1,400 years, yeah.
Okay, give me correct, please.
Okay, so the birth of religion, which is one of the actual facts we have, explains that religion is like literally 6,000 years old. And meaning that the youngest of them, and this is referring to the monotheistic religions, to be clear, because the people talk about like Hinduism and Buddhism, which are slightly older, but the ones that are predominantly controlling people in the world today are Islam being the youngest, 1,400 years ago, and then Christianity, as in the new, what they call the New Testament, deals with the 2,000 years ago, because they're dealing with the Gregorian calendar starting with what they call the birth of Christ, or B.A.D. And then before that, they say B.C., which is dealing with before Christ, or before the Christian era, B.C.E. So the Old Testament, what they call the Old Testament, the Torah really, which is what they call the 5 books of Moses, that's like 4,004 years old. So when you add them all together, obviously we're in 2025 now, so you'll be looking at approximately 6,029. Yeah, because if you're adding 4,004, dealing with BC, and then you're adding the 2,000 years, or 2025, you're going to get 2029. I mean 6,029, sorry. So yeah, religion's like 6,000 years old approximately, but yet the scientists, they find, you know, fossils and carbon date things, and they go back millions and millions of years. So yeah, so religion is something that was really man-made, and the reason why is because of the beings that were grafted 6,000 years ago. We refer to those beings as the Adamites, because you had extraterrestrial beings called Pleiadians that together with like the Anunnaki that were responsible for the graftation, and this was 6,000 years ago. So that's why they date everything and go back to 6,000 years, because they didn't actually exist before that time.
Got you. Okay. Got you. And one more thing, Ken. Thank you so much. I love you guys so much. I swear I do.
I sure. Yeah.
I actually Googled truth on YouTube, and you came up, and I was like, thank goodness.
That's the new face. So you'll be looking in a dictionary for truth, and you're gonna see me and Asaru like this. Thank you for sharing that.
Make sense for me. Why do these people, they will say things like, for example, if 2 people was in a car accident and one person lost a leg and one person died, the one person who lost the leg will be like, oh, thank God I didn't die.
Yeah.
And the other person did. Like, why God didn't save the other person? Like,
that's exactly when you know that you're awoke and you're starting to use right knowledge, and your mind doesn't accept things that don't make sense, because those are the questions that people that are under the spell don't ask, because they like, thank God, but if God was around when it was taking place, why did he let it happen in the first place?
Exactly.
And why didn't he save both of the people? You know, these are the types of questions that let you know that this God and this deities that they're talking about are not what they make them out to be. Even when the doctor spends years going to university and gets their medical degrees and get experience in a hospital, and then they operate and save the person's life, they say thank God, they don't thank the doctor that did the work. So it's like, it doesn't make sense. And then people around, like you see the whole family come to the hospital and they like praying like till they're sweating and trying to save this person, but really it's the doctor that does the work.
Yep.
So all their prayers, they will say, oh, but it was God that made the doctor to save the person. But if God could go through someone else, why doesn't he just step in?
And then when the doctor can't help if they say, oh, it was their time to go. Like, what?
Yeah. Or it was the devil's fault.
Yeah.
See, they blame all the bad stuff on the devil, because without the devil, they will have to have hold God accountable.
Right.
And nobody wants to hold God accountable, but we Nuwapians do. We put God we put him on the witness stand.
Yep.
And ask him some questions that, you know, should hopefully let you realize it's a spell.
It doesn't make sense. They say, I'm in Atlanta. A young lady passed away in a car accident, and her daughter was in a car, and they say, oh, it was her time to go. I'm like, but the baby needs her mom. Like, that doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
Like, parents, like, I just have to check out from people sometimes. So I'm like, y'all is trying to make sense out of stuff that don't make sense to me at all, and y'all not gonna drive me crazy.
Oh man, you hit the nail on the head, because it's like you talk to people that are Christians or in religion, and you start asking them questions that they can't answer. And then they started trying to speak for God.
Yeah.
Like, no, well, you know, he needs to know that you love him and that's why he did it. Like, who told you? Where does it say that in the book? They slowly drift away from the book and start like giving their opinions on what they think that's the reason why God's doing it. You see,
It's
so
their opinion.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. Yes. And then when it get to a point where they can't answer, they say it's just because. It's like, wait, it can't be just because.
yeah, or the classic one is you need Jesus.
Yeah.
You're not praying hard enough.
You ain't saved.
You're not saved. You're an infidel, or you're all of these names that they start calling just because you want to know the truth and asking questions.
When I hear that Jesus word, it gives me the chills. Like, no, get away from me. Like, goodness. People say, oh, thank Jesus. Like, what did he do for you?
Yeah, what did he do? And the people, when we make it humorous, because you know, if you didn't, you don't know what people would do, because you can go, as you say, mental, like, because you're like, how is Jesus saving me when he couldn't save himself?
Yes, that part. Yes.
You know, it's kind of like, and this the blood of Jesus, you need the blood of Jesus. And I'm like, how many blood does he have in his body? You know,
demonic is that.
yeah, then you eat his flesh when you go to church and drink his blood. Like cannibalism, you know. So yeah, we could go on and on and on. And not just Christianity, we could do this to Islam all day long. And religion is time has expired. As of the year 2000, people are waking up. People want to know the truth, and people want to get rid of that.
I'm like, where he at? Where is he at right now?
Nobody even knows what he looks like.
Exactly.
And the picture they give you is a picture of Zeus.
Oh, we're not gonna get on.
Yeah, so you know, you're right. You know, we just say, look, drop religion, you'll be liberated, and you know, just start studying and learning and living Wu-Sabat. That's the culture.
Yes.
That's the culture, the future for this next 24,000 years. So, yeah, thank you for your questions, and it's good to make us laugh. Yeah.
Listen to you guys all the time, and we just be sitting there like, yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, it's all the master teacher,
Yeah.
Partner Bambiano, Dr. Malachi Z. York, who is the person that is here to wake the world up to the reality of actual facts. Yeah, and sharing those secrets that have been hidden for thousands of years, and now it's time for the sleeping gods to wake up, and goddesses. So, you know, take responsibility for your life. All right.
Yes, I thank you for you guys, and I thank Wu-Sabat for opening my eyes, and I thank you guys. That's all I got to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you. But remember, you can spark other people now. So once you're open and you've got to share. Each one, reach one, and teach one. So everyone's got a part to play. All right.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Wadu. Okay. Right. Let's get back to. We covered that. Peace and love, learning so much. I'm so grateful to you all. Hey, that's Dorinda Shelton. Likewise, each one teach one. Everyone's got a job to do. Like, spread the word. Okay, let's keep going. What happens to those who unknowingly accept the Leviathan spirit in ignorance? Do you wanna The question is from Brandon. What happens to those who unknowingly accept the Leviathan spirit in ignorance?
They get used as fuel or food.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, when you say what happens, I don't know if you mean whilst they're alive or when they cross over, but in either case, if they're alive, then we've got to reach them and give them Wu-Sabat.
Yeah.
Because Leviathan is literally broken down as Levi.
Law of sin.
And when you say spirit, you got a lot of 60th spirit forces that people are getting entrapped by. All right. Rahubat caller, what's your name, where you're calling from, and what's your question, please?
Rahobat Moisa. Right, this is T from the UK.
Rahobat T.
First question, yeah, nice one, guys. Right, the first question is, why do they use the numbers 999 for the emergency services? Number 2, is space like ether? And then number 3, how old is the moon? How long has it been there? That's the end of my questions, if that's all right, guys.
Sure, thank you.
All
Right.
thank you.
The first one with why they use 999 is psychological, isn't it? They're flip moding everything and turning everything back to, because 9 ether is not, doesn't have that energy, that panic energy and stuff. So obviously they agitate and try to turn everything around. It's a frequency, it's a vibration. So it's like, if you really look into this, right? You operate on 9 ether. What time do you need to get to work most of the time?
8:30, 9.
Most people work 9 to 5, right? So why 9? And in order for you to get to work at 9, like most of the time you have to think, okay, how long does it take me to travel to work? Yeah. Let's say on average, you might say an hour. So that's going back from 9, you go to 8. Then you say, okay, before I get to work in terms of traveling, how long will it take me to get ready?
Eat, shower, all that.
Shower, eat, all of that. You're gonna go back to
6:30 or something.
about 6 o'clock. So they wake you up at 6, and then when it's 9, which is your time, with the right energy, they have you running up and down like, do you know what I mean? The whole of that period. And then if you finish at 5, what time are you gonna, probably another hour to travel. So you get home at 6, you see? So it's all based around something called your circadian rhythm, where it throws you off, where, you know, there's a time for you to wake up, a time for you to sleep so that your melanin is working and, you know, functioning. And there's a time where you don't eat, and it's a time for elimination. So you look at that, it gives you 24 hours, as they say. People say 24 hours in a day, but if that's the case, which part is night then?
Yeah.
So it's all about the spell and having you using words that don't make sense. So you say 24 hours in a day, but there's really 12 hours in a day, and 12 hours in what they call night. And there's no such thing as night because it's shadow hours, because the sun doesn't stop shining. But the point I'm making with the 24 is that you go break that down into 3 8-hour slots. Yeah. So there's a time when you eat, and 8 hours during that time you can eat. So you shouldn't really be eating like after 9 o'clock. And then there's another time when you're resting and digestion is taking place. And that's when obviously your melanin as well. You got melanin, you got serotonin, and like, you know, you got to make sure that this rhythm is followed to get the optimum production of your being, yeah? So yeah, so that deals with the 999. The second one about is space ether. Everything has ether to a certain level or degree, because this is what they're looking into now, where they're talking about the states that exist before what they know as, you know, what they call darkness, because within darkness there's light. And when you look at the sun is 9 ether, and it's basically the energy source for the planet. And then so basically ether, what you call space, matter and time work together, but they're within what we call ether, or 9 ether, which is 9 to the 9 power of 9, dealing with the supreme balance, or like triple darkness. Triple darkness is when you look at, like I was saying, the shadow state, when when you were first born, you were in darkness in your mother's womb, right? Because it's just secluded. Only you are in that darkness until you come out. Now, when you come out, you're in this darkness, which we're calling day and night, where there's it's really shadow hours. And then when you come outside of the planet, there is still darkness surrounding, you know, the stars are within this darkness. That's another level of darkness. But if you keep going, there will be a darkness where there's no light. Yeah, so that's, again, what we're dealing with when we're talking about 9 ether. And this is what we are connected to with our ancestors, who are the elemental beings that personify from that supreme darkness, or the 9 ether. And we say 9 ether is the combination of all existing gases, chemicals and elements, conscious and conscience gases, all together make up 9 ether. What was the last question? Yeah, like the moon. Right.
How old is the moon?
There are different dates for the moon, because moons are like satellites that are caught in the orbit of, say, a planet like the Earth. We have a moon, but that moon that we see today is really, it was created. So you have dates like 11 billion years ago, and then you'll have, like, when you read the Holy Tablets, for example, when it talks about lunar, because the word lunar also refers to a being, but also to the moon at a particular date and time. So that was 66 billion years ago. So it's like the planet Earth. Today, it's not the same Earth that we had before, and the size and everything has changed, and it's had many, many names, and what people call birth dates is the same when you start to look at the moon. But we know that the moon that is there today is inhabited by the Greys, and it's a satellite that is used to, well, it actually gets its light from the sun, and it's like, it's used to monitor monitor the beings on the planet by, as I said, Greys and so forth. So I hope that's helped. Yeah, that's the 3 questions, right? Okay, cool. Right, so again, here's another question. Oh yeah, we didn't finish that. Yeah, we did. If you follow the laws of sin, or you're caught up in the spirit, because Leviathan is also a spirit force, and you're in ignorance, then ignorance literally means to ignore the facts.
Yeah.
So that person, you can help them if they're still alive by giving them the facts, giving them Wu-Sabat, and then you will be able to wake them up or take them away from Leviathan. Why did Yahweh forbid the Hebrews from following Egyptian gods and practices? That's tricknology again, because they always try to make the Egyptians look bad and the Israelites look good. But yet, how do you know that the Egyptians are good people? Because everyone ran to Egypt for refuge when they needed help. When there were famines, they all, like, you know, Joseph and his whole family ended up in Egypt. Moses was in Egypt. Jesus, as they call him, was taken and hidden in Egypt. Abraham, Joseph, everybody goes to Egypt. And even if you bring it down to more recent times, most of the Greeks, you know, Aristotle, what's his name? Plato, that's it. Plato, Socrates,
Homer,
name them. They all went to Egypt to be taught and study under the Egyptian mystery school. So, yeah, in the Bible, they're doing that 9 ether and 6 ether thing where they're flip moding everything, because the Egyptians were the real Negroids. So they tried to make them as bad and then make the Israelites as the good people. So, yeah, again, when you say the Bible, we know that these books are plagiarized and they've been concocted from ancient Sumerian and further from ancient Egyptian mystery schools and stories. All right, so let's keep going.
Everything that we have, they always try and flip mode it and make it negative.
Yep. You can look at black and white and the whole racism card they try to play. Henrik Adams, Rahubat. Great to be here always. Likewise, great to have you. Rahubat, to Ken. How does the Yoruba traditional belief system, Ife, pan out in the scheme of things? We answer this question pretty much like every week. Okay, we've been saved by the bell. Another caller. Hey, Rahubat Kaiser Charles, how you doing?
Hi, Rahubat.
Rahubat,
Greetings
Rahubat.
to you, Rahubat.
Yeah. What's your
How are
question
you?
today?
And
Sorry,
oh,
we're good, we're good. We're
you and
still
the
in the belly of
Saharas.
the beast.
Yeah.
Still
Yeah.
fighting.
Same here. I just got off work, and I love to. I was just about to have lunch, and then I saw you guys live, so I was like, I gotta call my brother Sadim,
Chime in, tour,
to
Rahubat.
to
Yeah.
her. So yeah, I have a question about. I recently watched a mermaid video you did, and my first question would be, I watched Bidel 1014, so I want to ask, would you have an interview with Bidel if you are familiar with Bidel 1014? His videos, he breaks them down very nicely in his presentation, his channel on YouTube.
I'm not familiar with him, but we've put the call out to everyone to ask us anything or collaborate, have one-to-one. So yeah, definitely. We can look into that.
Definitely, yeah. He's a very intelligent young man. His YouTube is called Bidel 1014, and I'm sure when you look on it, you would see like his channel is very, very cool. The way he even talks, he says, he says he definitely does research on master teachers. So
Okay.
he puts a lot of good information out there. So yeah, I definitely love.
Yeah, share the link. I mean, you can post. You can even post it in the chat now. So we'll look into him. Yeah,
Got you, bro. I'll
Yeah.
post his channel.
Anyone who's trying to promote unification, love and unity, actual facts, truth, Wu-Sabat, it's all about that. So
That's it.
especially if you're giving respect and reverence to the master teacher, we definitely want to spread the word about Dr. Malachi ZK York, Partner Babyanun. So yeah, we need to reach some 8 billion people on the planet. Yeah. So whoever can help us do that, yeah, we're all for that. All right.
Oh, that's cool. And by the way, I loved your you talked with that. What was the I saw you did an interview with the young lady. I don't remember her name, but she asked a lot of great questions.
Yeah, Jumi, that was an excellent conversation. We got more in stock for you, and we want more females. Yeah, the sacred feminine, the Nagaru sisters, because it's really their time.
Yep.
And so it's good to see them starting to come through now, because most of the interviews have been with men, apart from the one we did with Cami, I think. Yeah. So
yeah, she's very, very smart.
yeah, we need more. We need more females. Females are far smarter than men. So we need their input as well. So yeah.
Sisters, come forward, sisters. Represent.
All right. Tawat. Wadu.
We'll talk later. Bye.
Toa. All right. Where were we? Yeah, the Yoruba traditional belief system. All right. Let me make this very clear. Let's make this clear. Wu-Sabat is the solution. All right. People keep looking to all the stuff we did in the past or that we're trying to do now and say, what about this one? Or what about that person? Or what about this? We're saying to you, if it aligns with Wu-Sabat, then it came from Wu-Sabat.
Yeah.
And so, like Yoruba, Igbo, even Hausa, and all of these things, our original way of life, which is referred to as being an animist or animism, which all it is really recognizing nature, connecting with nature, knowing that we came from nature, giving reverence and thanks and gratitude to nature, nature being the sun, the moon, the stars, the air, the soil, the animals, the vegetation. What's happened is infiltration by foreigners who misinterpreted what we did and then introduced their ways of life into it, such as blood sacrificing, offerings to give to these beings. And one of the things you have to use right knowledge in Wu-Sabat is that if something is a spirit, it doesn't need physical things. What would it do with it? It's like, I'm gonna offer this jacket to a spiritual being. It can't wear it. So it's like, you have to remember that, Wu-Sabat deals with animism in terms of us respecting our ancestors, respecting nature, because we return to nature, we come from nature. So in terms of answering that question, yeah, the original Yoruba traditions before they were desecrated were dealing with animism. And today in Wu-Sabat, we also still deal with that. We just don't deal with any sacrifices, no killing chickens, no spilling blood, no locks of hair, no bones, nothing. We just know how to connect and communicate with our ancestors.
No, there's no reason to kill to communicate with your ancestors or shed blood
That's
to
right.
communicate with your ancestors. No need for that.
We've been given vegetation, fruit, and things like that. So if you want to offer fruits and veg, fine, all right? So I hope, that question is clear, because we answer it so many times. Let me remind everyone that's on here, if you've not joined the Telegram group, do that, because we have answered a lot of questions already that if you're new, you can just scroll through and like get so much free information that we share every single day, every single week.
Check out the videos as well. From the
Of
first
course.
ones we've done.
Absolutely, yeah. Get the foundation of
Yeah.
what, because that was the first video, innit? Like, what
God
is
numbers in the
Wu-Sabat?
universe, yeah.
Yeah, God numbers in the universe, debunked and demystified. So watch that video if you haven't, and then we take it from there. We've got another caller coming in. Okay. Rahubat caller, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's your question, please?
It's a God again, brothers, Arizona.
Hey, Arizona. Rahubat.
I was born on 9/11, and one of the things that fascinates me, I don't know if you could speak about this, but I've been studying the occult a lot, all these Zionists or whatnot, and they love 9/11. Why is this? What's so special about those numbers to them?
Right, because if you really go into it, you see that it was a time where they had to, I'll put it this way, get rid of a lot of evidence. Because those buildings stored a lot of information. It was like a reset, a restart, and so it was, as many people have debunked and shown, that the way the buildings came down, it was detonation. It wasn't like what was said to be. There was a lot of, many people have kind of really looked into it. So when you start to look at, the reset, which is now leading into, between now and they've got the agenda, is it 2025, and certain things that they want to implement and basically start over again. So Zionist, when you say Zionist, that word Zion relates to the word Zuen, and Zuen is, it's the, this is what I'm saying, that they make evil fair seeming, and you get people that think Zion is dealing with righteousness, because you hear all those reggae songs about going back to Zion and and dealing with.
Zuen.
Oh, Zuen is the equivalent, or the Sumerian rendition of what people call the devil.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that ties into, as I said, Zion, and then you got the books like the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, dealing with Zionists. And when you start to look at who these are, you're dealing with people like Albert Pike, Eisen Whitesock,
Aleister
Crowley. We have a book, actual fact, called History, his story, that goes into the occult, as you were saying. And the master teachers put out books like the Luciferian Conspiracy many years ago, Leviathan, that go deep into.
Yeah, I ordered the Leviathan books off of Amazon. I'm still waiting for them.
Okay, yeah.
I just ordered them. I can't wait.
Yeah, when you get those, man, different reality that you're gonna be in. So, they also, it's dealing with sacrifices, and when you start to look at, even throughout the music industry, the Hollywood and all of that, there's a lot of talk about sacrifices to appease certain entities and beings that that feed off of that chaos or that destructive energy. And this is where this whole like things like the Bohemian Grove with the owl and certain rituals and certain things are done based on cycles and to appease certain beings that will give them power, will keep them in rulership. And it's funny, the master teacher in the books from years ago, I can't remember which one it was talking about, the Twin Towers. And I think it's even in those Leviathan.
Year 2000 and what to expect.
The year 2000, what to expect, So, yeah, a lot of predictions that the master put in the books many, many years ago have actually, come to pass. So I hope that's giving you some help.
Yeah, it's so at one point, when did the transition happen from the Anunnaki doing their egotistical stuff here and being portrayed as gods when they weren't, and these deities coming into power?
Which deities coming into power?
So, like, the ones that the Zionists, like, worship and all that, like, I don't really want to say their names.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, you're talking about, this is the 6,000 years ago. This is what we're saying, that with the birth of religion, because their overlords, the Pleiadians, remember that people like, George Washington, if you look at his lifestyle and where you look at what they call the obelisk in Washington and see where it's pointing to the stars, this ties into what I was saying about Nimrod with the antenna. That obelisk in Washington, it points to the star constellation of the Pleiades. And the Pleiades are those overlords that they were feeding and giving them their power. It's the same Pleiades that were responsible from Aldebaran, etc., for creating religion, to control the masses and the people, to feed that energy to these beings. So yeah, that's when we're saying that, like, they chose Abraham as their man with the Anunnaki to enforce the spell of religion. And so that's really where it started from. But because remember that prior to that 6,000 years, we were in the sun cycle. And the moon cycle started 6,000 years ago and ended in the year 2000 AD. So during that time is when a lot of people were put under the spell. And, religions became very prominent. And then after the master coming in 1970, starting to break the spell and prepare people for 1999, where 1999 was the end or the countdown to the year 2000 for the end of
Devil's rule.
Yeah, so remember that the devil came, what they call, out of the pit in 1966. So when you look at that book again called History, you're talking about beings like Anton Levy or Anton Levy, who was head of that's when the Church of Satan came about.
Wow.
And that was sanctioned by the then president, known as Ronald Wilson Reagan.
Yeah.
And you look into, so from 1966, look at the 666, which then ends in the 999 of 1999. Then bringing in the year 2000, which is the sun cycle, to bring in this new paradigm that we're living in called the sun cycle, with the master teacher coming with healing in his wings to break the spell of Leviathan, Kingu, and the very many renditions that these beings that are the brotherhood of the
Snake, Bohemian.
Yeah, the Order of the White Lodge. And they're the ones that, for the last 6,000 years, with the help of their overlords, the Pleiadians, have basically been controlling and running things up until our time, which is, now.
So then with Yeshua, or Yahshua, I don't know his real name specifically, but at least the oldest that I found is Yeshua. From the Gnostic text, because I don't go off of mainstream or whatnot, I keep on digging. I go by DNA and science or whatnot. Like, try to find the truth as much as I can. But his message, and where I'm going with this is, maybe the master teacher maybe said something about it, but was the opposite of what religion is today, and the fact that he came here and he didn't just come here alone, but he actually came here with the divine feminine incarnate of Sophie Christ, or as the Bible has degraded her as Mary Magdalene, but saying you don't need these religions and trying to wake people up, saying the opposite of these religions. And then how, like, John the Baptist with the Essene organization, and then how supposedly Yeshua helped with that because it was supporting the divine feminine as well, along with, the divine masculine. But it kind of reminded me when you were talking with the lady about, the divine feminine and how women are waking up right now, because it's so powerful. Because I completely agree with you on, we gotta support them more.
That's right. There's been a concentrated effort on the feminine.
Yeah. And I feel like the reason is because they know how powerful the divine feminine truly is. Like, when a lot of people, they may start feeling like, they're yearning for a woman, or a woman could be yearning for a man, and they kind of go down, the wrong path in a way, whatever, like being too physical or something.
Yeah.
It's because they don't understand. They're not conscious yet of understanding. They just want that opposite of that masculine divinity, or the man wants that opposite of that feminine divinity, and they take it as, in this physical world, as, I just want sex. And it's not like that. It's like, you have to, if you follow your path, you see that, from what I'm being able to understand, we're just seeking that opposite so we can become more balanced from it.
To become one, yes. And the master teacher, Parnabab Yanuna, has put out a book called The Lotus of Life on the Sacred Feminine, which is essential for both males and female, because you need the two side, left and right brain, and the technology is to have the feminine suppressed to the point where, because remember the female is the nurturer in the house.
That's right.
She deals with all the children. So if you get her, you get the entire family.
Yeah.
You see, so yeah, so he put out this new scroll called The Lotus of Life on the Sacred Feminine, because when you read that, it explains how both sides, the male has to support the Sacred Feminine so that she can be activated, and then she activates him, and then they both come together as one, using both left and right hemispheres of the brain to be, there you go, the Lotus of Life. This is called the Gospel of Yanun on the Sacred Feminine, the Lotus of Life, and that's Actual Fact, series number 23. Yeah, you have to definitely read that, because and even the whole story, they try to not talk about the woman in religion, especially Christianity, because they deal with God the Father, then the Son, and then instead of the female, they just ignore her and go to the Holy Ghost. But the God the Father and God the Son come from God the woman. So it's like it doesn't make sense. So we have an actual fact called quality that goes into the quality, because you need the female, put her in the rightful position, which is the first on top, because then she gave birth to the male. So the X chromosome gives the XY, because the Y is a defective X. So they try to suppress the woman, and in religion, the woman was kept backwards. All the priests, the imams, the rabbis, the presidents, prime ministers, all men. And this is why the state of the world is in the way it is. And that's because when you look at the Greeks and the Romans, they were really homosexuals predominantly, and they didn't really promote the female. You go back to ancient Egypt, and we ruled side by side. You always had both male and female ruling together, you see. So a lot of this technology is turning everything back to front, and we are now reversing it to the correct way and putting back things in order putting the jigsaw puzzle back together so that you're not confused in your mind. But we had a few callers trying to get through. We've been on the phone a little bit, so let me, let's take those calls. So we still have a lot of questions in the chat, but I appreciate love your call as always.
Always. How do you say love in Wu-Sabat?
Ashok.
Ashuk.
Yeah, you pronounced it perfectly just then, yes. Tua.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Antakatirafu. Okay, let's get back to where we got another one. Rahubat caller, what's your name, where you calling from, and what's your question, please?
Hey, my name is Omar.
Rahubat.
And, I just had a little quick question. Lately, I've been having very vivid dreams, and it's like I have been studying the master teacher's books. Also, the teacher Bobby Hemmett as well. I love his teachings and what he gave to the world. And I don't know, like lately, I just feel like whenever I go to sleep, I have a level of consciousness whenever I go through these things, like with these visions that I have, like it's almost as if I'm walking and talking and doing things as if I'm doing here. Like when I'm like alive, well not alive, sorry, but conscious and not sleeping. And yeah, I just want you to give insight on that. Thank you.
All right, yeah. So, the reality of, okay, the master teacher asked us this question one time. He said, how do you know this is not a dream that we're in now? Like, when you go to sleep, you say you're dreaming, but how do you know that this is not the dream? And that's the reality, because the two worlds exist in different realms. So you can visit and traverse and travel to these other realms without your skin suit. And so people will have experiences when they do that and then wake up and they'll be like, that was so real. But we say wake up, but how do we know we're not sleeping right now?
That's
and
it.
this
We're
is
waiting
a
to wake
dream,
up.
and we're waiting to wake up. So the whole thing about sleep is quite interesting, because the master also said that, is it a sister to death? Because when you go to sleep, how do you know if you never wake up that you're not dead? So it's like, it's just showing you that you're basically traveling between different worlds, and you also have a counterpart, which, you know, when you're awake, they're asleep, and vice versa. So the more in tune you are, the more spiritually aware you are, the more you're able to like not be afraid of that world. You can actually leave your body at will and come back. But you have to remember that there are also disembodied beings that are seeking a physical body to utilize, and they can jump in. So people can go to sleep, wake up and be a totally different person, or get trapped outside if they don't know what they're doing. But of course, you've got your ancestors as well that you're connected to that will guide you and stuff. So it's really about learning and practicing. At first, when you're not used to it, it can be a scary experience when you're like, what's happening to me? Or when you don't return back fully into your body, but you're about to wake up, and
Sleep
then
paralysis.
you have the sleep paralysis where, you know, you can't move, but you're aware something's up. You can't run, you can't scream, you can't move, because it's just still the process of basically connecting back with your real beings, your spiritual and your spiritual being and your soul. So you may just be getting more and more in tune with that, you know, that side of that realm. So you got to learn. People like you mentioned, Bobby Hemmett, and certain people that they teach or taught a lot of Egyptology and things like that. But you have to remember, we always express Pana Babylon is on a different level, because he's a master of both the spiritual world as well as what people call the physical world, and has built cultures and knows all the rituals and things that you actually do, that he knows the secrets that most don't. Hey, Rahubat, caller, what's your name, where you calling from, what's your question?
Rahubat, Saken, and Asaru.
Rahubat.
Yeah, it's Kenyan Mwangi from Nairobi, Kenya.
Ooh.
Hey, Rahubat.
Yeah. So I have two questions. Let me go straight to it.
Okay.
So my first one is I'm trying to get maybe guidance on the naming system because some of us will get maybe kids and some of us who are trying to change our white man names. So maybe we can get a guide. The second question is also I'm trying to understand the period when I don't want to say the continent, but I want to talk about Africa. So the period like we were divided so that we can call ourselves some Sudanese, some Ethiopians, some South Africans. Yes, also trying to understand that. Those two questions.
Sure.
Yes.
As far as the names go, we had the Tamarayan name book. You can still find it or you can borrow it or share it from someone where you get to know the different names and the meanings of the names so that you're picking a meaningful name until such time that, you know, you're able to receive a name by way of the orders, like the ancient Egyptian order, which a lot of us have been accepted into, and kind of still waiting for initiations and things like that. So, but in all of, you know, if you can't get hold of the book, then you can research and look at using names that have a meaning, because a lot of these names, like, but the thing is, you have to choose a name you can live up to as well, because it's a tone, it's a vibration, it's a frequency that when somebody refers to it, everyone that has that tone is going to resonate. And so this is one of the reasons why we say come into the community, and so that you can be close and people will help you in terms of like maybe choosing a name, or people that know you, because it will be based on your character and your characteristics and your nature. So yeah, but one thing I can say as well, that because we're close to like the Ghanaian culture as well, if you're born, you know, like in Ghana, if you're born on a particular day, you can take the name that is equivalent to that day. So this is another recommendation that you can utilize in the meantime. If you want to get away from the European slave masters' names, choose a Ghanaian name. You know, like you have like Kobina, Kofi, Kojo,
Eku.
Yeah, these are the names that the tones and frequencies are better than the European names. So you can just look at the day you were born and choose that name in the meantime, whilst you wait to receive or choose your Tamarayan or cultural name.
Where's he from though? Where are you from, bruv?
Kenya, he said Kenya.
You should have a Kenyan name.
Yeah, so you don't have Kenyan tones?
Yes, we have.
Ah, yes.
We have, but our first names are the European names, then followed by our African names.
That's
Mine is Mwangi and Irongo.
There you go. I can feel those tones.
Yeah.
Like, so just change the European name to
that one out the way.
to the day you were born name, and
That's
then
it.
use those three for now, and then
Sure.
What was the second question? If you can remind me.
I was trying also, finding out
Africa, how it's separated.
Oh, the separation. So
South
yeah.
Africans, Ethiopians.
I got you. So a lot of that came by way of foreigners, the Europeans and the Arabs, and that's what that word farka or Afrika from the Arabs come from when they're dealing with separation and division. But it ties into the Berlin Conference as well, where Europeans, they divided it up based on the resources that were in each location. So they were like gold, platinum, cobalt, uranium, wherever. So they basically shared it amongst themselves and their families to take, okay, because, you know, we want you to have that region, you know, we'll call it Nigeria, or, do you know what I'm saying? And just, so that's kind of where that came from, the divisions by the so-called I don't even know why they use the term slave master, because they're not really masters like that. But yeah, so that's, research the Berlin Conference if you're not familiar with that. Research like the Ottoman Empire dealing with like with the Arabs, and just that whole like invasion by foreigners into what we used to call it Ganawa, but it became Africa, then Africa, and certain tones that, come from this colonization. All right?
Yep. Ashuk, brother.
Ashuk, Zama.
Ashuk.
Wadu for now.
Wadu.
Okay, right. I hope we can get through some of these. Just remember that we ask you to join the Telegram group, because we know sometimes we don't get to answer all the questions. So if you don't get your question answered today, just ask it in the Telegram group. Right, Sharon Young from Fayetteville, New NC, wants to know, where did our language come from? The Sabian language. It came from the heavens.
Yeah.
Do you wanna?
Yep, from the stars. Siptu, Orion, and Sirius. So this is the language that our ancestors spoke.
Spoken, go on.
And they came down with the same language. Last time it was spoken was in Napata, Monroe, I think.
Yeah.
Hatshepsut, or what they call Nakeba.
Yeah, and it's spoken on Mars, and it's the script that when archaeologists and people try to research language, they go back to ancient Egypt, to the pyramids, where they refer to the script as hieroglyphics. And then when they go into ancient Sumer or Shinar, they refer to that as cuneiform. But these are both scripts of the language Mishpatia or Sabaic, Nuwapic, Napatian. It depends on like what area you're coming from. There were different names for the language. So today it's Mishpatia, and that's what we speak. And all languages originate from, or shall I say, dialects were taken from it, and and the females spoke it 54,000 years ago before the males, and then eventually it got grafted into different tongues. Let's keep going. Greetings, fam. Stay blessed. Can a blind person be able to dream if he never saw light since birth? Yes. In fact, it'll be more vivid for them, because when you don't have other senses, then some will become more prominent. Because remember that light comes from darkness anyway. So if you're in darkness, you're going to be more in tune, and you can feel its energy as well, because light can be transformed into sound and sound into light. So what I'm saying is that if you don't have sight, your ears are going to become more heightened, and with the other senses as well. But yes, because it's really traveling in different dimensions, and you don't only use these eyes, you have a third eye. See, so people look at sight as just these eyes, but these eyes are just the ones that deal with the photons on this side. But this is why everyone's saying try and make sure you can open your third eye, which is the real eye, to see in other dimensions. All right. Up from Toronto, Canada. Okay, big up my brothers, Rahul Bat, that's Watson. That video on Atlantis is deep. I have to rewatch it. More importantly, get hold of your copy, because they're going fast, and
only a few copies left in the shop.
Yeah, and we keep saying that YouTube's not always going to be here. Enjoy it while it lasts. But yeah, we do want it to be here for a long time.
Yeah.
All right, because we can reach a lot of people. So, but yeah, definitely get hold of the copy, Atlantis. No one teaches like Parnabab Yanun, the master teacher. So, anyone else sound keep cutting out? No, it's probably your device, bro, or your location.
You lot were talking about 9/11. I've been dealing with a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
See, this is them spirit beings trying to 16th forces, man. They don't. Oh, you see that? Yeah. But yeah, we keep persevering. Right, other people are saying their sound is good, so it must be your device.
Yeah, ignore all of them now because they're over.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
I've been through it.
Rahubat Master Ken, I am fortunate to have gathered books written by our master teacher from All Eyes on Egypt books and things out of Georgia. ATL in the house. Well done. Yeah, seek whatever you can get hold of from Parnabab Yanun, the master teacher, because the miracles is in the books.
It's real.
The miracles are in the books. How specifically were we brought here by, I think that's meant to be Parnatharu from Orion. Was it via ship? And what was the specific process in which we were seeded here? Okay, so obviously depending on which period of time we're talking about, original seeding was done by way of the dolphins. Yeah. So, you know, I'm a motor mouth, so anytime you want to jump in, jump in. But yeah, do you want
Was that the Noon project?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. So yeah, the dolphins were seeded with the original seed to germinate the waters, and then we grew out of the waters. And we're not talking like overnight, you know. So we're talking about millions of years of evolution, and then different beings from different planets and different constellations also started to come here. But we evolved first onto land, and then yeah. So we had lungs and gills and tonsils because of coming from the water, you know. So sometimes people don't understand when you get an eruption with the tonsils and stuff like that. They just remove them because they don't realize the connection to
Breathing water right
breathing
now.
in water. Yeah. Okay, so Rahubat caller, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's your question, please?
Rahobat Sakin. My name is Shane. I'm calling from California.
Rahubat.
I got 3 questions. Greetings to the other brother. I completely forgot your name.
Asaru. He said Rahubat.
Rahubat.
Yeah, because we don't see him very often, do we? So that's why he's laughing. But yeah, he's Asaru. Asaru Tahuti Atum. Right, go ahead, Jamal.
All right, so the first question I have is in regards to something you just said. I've heard you say it a few times about disembodied beings, and that they can actually, come into your body. Is there anything on like your book called the Patarak? Is there anything in there on this? Like, where can I read more on these disembodied beings?
Yes, we did a video on a Patarak. Just trying to remember which one it was.
Ghost? Would that be?
No, it wasn't Ghost. King, do you remember what videos we've done on Patarak? What Pataraks we've done so far?
Yeah.
I will tell you.
Atlantis. The formation.
Yeah, I think it's a formation.
What was the question?
About the spirit, disembodied spirit beings. But I think it's the formation, but I'll double check on that. And if you're in the Telegram group, we'll give you the references. But yeah, you've got to remember that when you're saying legions and the fallen angels that came here,
I was there, which is here. That goes.
I think that's the one.
That's
I
the
was
one.
there, which is here. Yeah.
Atlantis, the power of the language.
It's either formation or I was there, which is here.
Yeah. That
Now
one.
I'm leaning more towards that one.
Yeah.
But
It's
yeah.
in there. I was there, which is there.
Is it a flood? Oh, I can't remember. But we'll definitely get the reference for you. But you've got to remember that spirit beings. Oh, it was the Anunnaki.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not a part of
It's not a part of that, but it was the one that was talking about
Parnanak and the biblical.
the beings. Yeah, I'm sure it was the Anunnaki. I'm guessing now. So let me not do that. We'll find out the real reference for you. But these beings that were cast down, what people refer to as the 200 fallen angels, there were 100 of them, was a quarter, that didn't have flesh, but they were cast down here as well as spirit disembodied beings. You also have beings like what they refer to as incubus and succubus, which are also spirit beings. And your body is porous. So gases, when we say ether, 6 ether, 4 gases can actually permeate and go into your being if you don't have yourself protected by 9 ether. And that includes how you smell, what you eat, the environment you're in, you know, so many vibrations and frequencies, the sounds you're listening to, etc. So yeah, there are references that we will definitely get for you. And we remember the master teacher spoke about beings called walk-ins. Walk-ins are beings that can just walk into you, take over, and influence you for a period of time, and you will act out and do something, and they will leave you.
Check out the movie Fallen.
Tour. The movie Fallen, it kind of shows you this. The movie Ghost goes into this. Ghost Town goes into some of this. But ultimately, you can also be born with certain spirit beings from your ancestors. This is where you're saying the Patarak, 30 spirits goes into this. We also have soul, spirits, another Patarak that goes into this, that explains how it's all about. Remember, everything is about vibration and energy and frequency. So depending on what vibration you're on, you will attract the same resonance in terms of frequencies, and then they can actually merge with you. But you can also have something called psychic defense.
Psychic self-defense.
Yeah, where you'll be able to block. And this is where the language and the Wu-Sabat practices come in, because you protect yourself. And we have oils like the all oil and certain things that deter, they act as a deterrent to beings that want to be in a particular environment, you see. So it's all about ether, 6 ether spirit forces, Leviathan, which is also a spirit force, and that ties into you being protected by 9 ether and 9 ether forces. Yeah, so you said you had 3 questions. What was the...
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely appreciate the depth of that one. Second question is, I was watching your lecture a few weeks ago, and the brother said that everyone does not have a soul. So
correct.
You can have human beings who do not have a soul. So can human beings who don't have a soul, can they gain one?
So you have some beings that have a soul, but it's not active or is depleted or dimmed, and they can reactivate that if they come into Wu-Sabat or they start to put the practices of Wu-Sabat into place. So the way I explain that is like, you see your mobile phone, it has a battery, right, which you charge up. And when you charge it up, it will have the meter that will say 50%, 60%, or 100% fully charged. So if I use that analogy to explain the soul, which ties into what we call your solar plexus, if you're charged up and you charge that up by spiritual practices or Wu-Sabat, the culture, living it, putting the chants in, the meditation, the relaxation, the mindfulness and ashuk, and all these things help to charge up your soul. But if you have a phone and you don't charge up the phone and it gets to like 1%, 0%, the phone's gonna die. Until you plug it back in, you see the red, it goes from green to red. Yeah. And that's, the colors are very, are telling in themselves. So if you plug it back in, you see that kind of like lightning sign that comes on, like it's trying to wake you back up and charge you back up, and then it will go to 1%, 2%, and then it will get back. So if you have the ability to be charged up, meaning you have a soul but it's not activated, you can still charge it up. So with the concept of you can lose your soul applies to people who have a soul but they're acting in 6 ether, or they're not doing things to turn that light switch on. And then you have beings who do not have that ability, who don't have a soul at all, or it has depleted to the point where no matter what you plug into it, you can't charge it, because they once had a soul, but it got so dimmed and dead to the point where they're still alive because the spirit keeps you alive. So every living thing is alive because it vibrates and has what we call a spirit. So animals have spirits, trees have spirits, rocks have spirits, all living things have spirits. So they're alive, they're vibrating, but you know, they don't have emotions like how those beings with souls have, where they're connected to the higher forces of Nine Ether, and they can dance and move with rhythm and be connected to that soul energy. So that's where we're saying that you can become the walking dead when you're walking around, you're alive, but you have no soul. And if you don't, in the Bible, they tell you that David lost his soul, and he had to play the harp and kind of like start to get back in tune and rejuvenate. And who was there? Was someone else that lost their soul as well, but David is the one that comes to mind at the moment. So yes, so does that help?
That definitely helps. That is, yeah.
And this is why we like music as well. Like they refer to us as soul people. You know, people like James Brown. Yeah, because you know we in tune with that movement, that rhythm, and they're like, those are soul people.
Don't forget the soul food, man.
Or the soul food.
Yeah.
Soul food.
Soul train. You know, we can. Yeah. So yeah, I hope that definitely. And then those who don't have a solar plex, solar relating to the sun, they have a lunar plex. So they need
coffee.
Coffee. they need stimulants, coffee, cigarettes, alcohol, name it.
Bungee
jumping to kind of feel alive and like try to, you know, activate that. But they feed off of those who do have a soul. Like the moon is non-luminous; it doesn't have its own light or soul, but it feeds off of the sun.
The sun.
Yeah. That's deep when you really start looking at the whole concept of moon and sun and cold and hot and dark and light and so.
Oh yeah, it's deep. It's pretty deep.
Yeah. All right.
Final question before we go. All right. So since you know, as of late, I've been doing a lot of reading. I've been listening to you guys' videos, and I realized that a lot of the things I learned in Christianity is, you know, either senseless or useless. So you know, I just got a kid.
Right.
A little baby, like a month old now.
You got a child. A kid is a baby goat.
It's a baby goat, right? Yeah, that's what I heard too.
You ain't trying to like. We have a part right called rams or lambs, and you ain't trying to raise up a ram. So yeah. But I hear you. Go ahead. Yeah.
And the discussion between the mom and I came up, and we're talking about christening. You know, bringing the child to a church.
Yeah.
And right now, I don't see the need for that.
Yeah, the young people say banda.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need. Go ahead anyway. Let me let you finish your question.
Yeah, but you know, she made a valid point. She said, okay, like there's no harm in doing it, and she respects my belief and my stance, but she was asking why not, you know, just in case. You know, and currently I have nothing to like replace it with, to say, all right, since we're not gonna christen.
You do. You have Wu-Sabat.
Oh, I'm not really plugged in the community. I just watched all the videos. I'm not plugged in at all, so I wouldn't even know the first thing to do.
You're plugged in though, man.
You're plugged in. Man. You're plugged in. And we have the information and the scrolls and things that we can share. That's why we ask people to stay close in the Telegram group. But she says there's no harm, but there is harm because what you're doing is handing over, by way of a ritual, you're giving that soul, that spirit over to these beings. And so this is what we're saying, that at birth, we voluntarily give ourselves over until you wake up and you're like, you didn't realize that was a ritual that you were doing. So yeah, it is important to be aware of what you're doing, especially for the karad. That's child in Nuwapu. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, you're doing the right thing by not, by protecting the child and not trying to hand them over to these spirit forces. Because remember, when you look at the ritual of baptism or taking your shahada or any of those rituals that you go through, you have to ask, what are you saying and who are you saying it to, and what are you invoking by that ceremony?
Who are you making a covenant with?
Who are you making a covenant with, exactly. So yeah, you're on the right track. And thanks for your 3 questions.
No, thank you for answering in such great detail.
All
As
right.
usual, it's a pleasure.
All right, buddy. Okay, let's see how we're doing with the... okay, let's catch up. Thanks for the knowledge, brothers. Much appreciated. Loved. Back up, cutting. I was just talking about the connection. I keep seeing messages about March 21st, 2025. A big shift in humanity is to happen according to media. Has a master teacher spoken, written about this big shift? Yeah, that's funny. We were talking about that. I was talking about that today, but not about that specifically, but there are always shifts and energy coming in with alignments and things like that. And he has given us information, but not about this, particularly that over this period, we're going to see more things, but not specifically about March 21st. But we are in a different paradigm anyway. People are raising in consciousness and vibration, and there are changes taking place. This is why from 2012, the master was saying about the dimensional shift and how these shifts are going to be taking place. So, you know, you should be raising your vibration by way of Wu-Sabat anyway, Wu-Sabat teachings and living the culture. All right, cutting up again. Let me see. Thank you, Saken. This is from Big Sister. Thank you, Saken and Asaru, for the knowledge and keeping Pop's name alive. That's all that matters. Seriously, man. And we want every one of you to keep Pop's name alive and keep, you know, pushing and spreading and sharing the videos. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. Remember, we're almost at that 100,000, and we need you guys to give it that push, that final push. I think we're on 98,000.
Spread.
So we got to get to spread. And you guys are going to get so much when we open that seal. Yeah, so also the Telegram group, we're trying to reach that magic number too. Did you check this out, yeah? We need 2,000 to make the 100,000, and we're almost at 2,000 on the Telegram. 58 to go, yeah. So if you're not on the Telegram group, help us. Let's hit that $2,000, and then we can take that $2,000 and put it over to the to the YouTube, and we'll get our 100,000. But we do need your help. You lot might think it's insignificant to do something as small as liking, sharing, subscribing, but with the exponential nature of the World Wide Web where we live today, you know, we can hit those numbers right now. If everyone that's already in the Telegram group invited one person.
I was going to say share to 9 people.
Yeah, but I'm just saying one would double the numbers. 9. 9 to the 9. Yeah, 9. Right, okay.
One of you can share to 9 to 9.
Yeah, do it tonight.
Let's do it, man.
Don't procrastinate. Don't spectate. But participate.
That's it.
Yeah, I used to be a rapper too. Got lyrics, bro. All right, let's get to the next question. Okay, that's talking about the interruption with the... This is what 9 Ether Beings doing in real estate. Free our master teacher, Partner Babyanun. Now, yeah, 100%. Next question. Do we recognize Atum in our culture? Of course, absolutely. Yeah. Atum is a part of the triad of, you know, beings.
Rays,
that deals with Atumre, Atunre, Amunre, Anunre. Full cycle Yeah, we definitely recognize our tomb. Oh, we got another question. I don't even hear the phone ring. Rahubat caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, bro. It's me again, Tone.
T, what's happening? How many Partaraks have you got for? I said to you to read all the Partaraks last live. Did you start? Yeah, I know you did. You ordered a lot of Partaraks, so you're on it. But yeah, go ahead. What's your question today?
Okay, cool. Okay, hold on a minute now. The Partaraks here, I've got like, hold on, 1, 2, 3. I got 5 here, and I ordered 8.
8 today.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. You're following instructions. Very important. Very important.
Always listen to what the teacher says.
Yeah, thank you.
Get your feet like. So yeah, with the students. So
right.
My question here, one of them is, what happens when there's like a solar eclipse? That's one.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one is like, this global warming thing that they're talking about, it's like the sun cycle that's coming in, but they're calling it global warming.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
And then number 3 is obviously like Antarctica and stuff is like melting, they're saying, yeah?
Yeah.
So that's going to cause more water on the planet.
Yeah.
And then when it fully melts and stuff, what's over that side of the earth for us to see?
Right. Okay. So we covered global warming already. Yeah, that's dealing with the sun cycle. Antarctica is a very interesting place because they've discovered ancient cultures and things there now.
Explain about definitely.
Yeah.
So I'm going to jump off and let you explain something.
Sure.
As well.
All right. No worries. Yeah. So if you read what I was reading from that Proverbs of the Unknown, it showed that was the landing spot. Yeah. Antarctica, and so a lot of ancient beings lived there and camouflaged, and like this is why for a long time many people couldn't get there because there were, they say this ice wall, stuff like that, because you have a lot of extraterrestrials that are residing there. So when you see crafts coming out of the water and going into the water, it's because there are many places in the inner earth, and the temperatures were, they're vicious out there. So most humans wouldn't even want to venture there. So that was another deterrent. When you're talking about the water, remember ice, when it melts, it becomes water or liquid, right? And if you look at the shift, that water then becomes floods or rivers or tsunamis because it then has to travel and move somewhere. So this is why it's very dangerous. Like they keep saying that, the ice melting is going to cause a lot of floods. And so, the American map and certain, information that was shared by this little girl called Lori Toy, who was, she said she received these visions of the future and how the world map was going to change because of these catastrophes and the floods, etc., that are going to take place. We also talked about the changes in the Patarak, the flood, which, so you have to watch that if you haven't seen that already. What was the first question? Because we went backwards. The first question was, none of us can remember. Do you remember?
I know it was Antarctica.
Yeah, there was one about the global warming, Antarctica, and there was one last one. Let me see if I can. It's gone.
It's gone same, yeah.
T, you might have to call back in because we've forgotten your first question. Yeah. Is he back? Okay. Hey, greetings, Rahul Bat. Who's calling?
Yeah, it's Tierney. The question was about the eclipses and stuff.
Oh, the eclipse. That's it. Yeah. All right.
All right, then. Nice.
The eclipse is just alignments of the planetary bodies. So, if you look up like a trajectory from where you are, you have the sun, you have the planet, then you have the moon. And as they're rotating, there's certain times where the angle is such that it would appear that as big as the sun is compared to the planet, at the right angle, it can look like it's covering the entire sun. So you got a lunar eclipse and you got a solar eclipse. It's kind of like perspective. Like you ever heard? There's a riddle when they say, "How do you get a camel to jump through the needle?"
Eye of a needle.
The eye of a needle.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you look at that from a particular angle, it looks like the camel has gone through the needle. Yeah. So it's like that right angle will mean that it will be completely covered. And there was one just the other day, isn't it? There was an eclipse. So that happens because of the cycles, and every, now and again, it takes a long time for that perfect angle to be in position where you still see like the ring because it'll be like fully covered. But in saying that, certain energies also then come down into the planet because these planetary bodies are alive and they vibrate and they give off frequencies and energy, and that energy comes down here. So even like the sun rays, like when we feel the sun is like, 91 to 93 million miles away, depending on, because obviously our planet is shaped, the orbit that it goes through, it's kind of like elliptical. So at one point it's closest to the sun than at another time. Got another caller, Rahubat, who's calling. What's your, T again. Go ahead, T. Yeah.
Right, that's exactly what I wanted to know. Like, when these planetary bodies like line up, like for instance the solar eclipse and stuff, I wanted to know like what happens to the planet, like what does it do, what do we get,
that's right,
what gets taken away and stuff like that. But you were mentioning different energies are changed over or something like that. So that's what I wanted to find out stuff. So thank you.
And that energy can affect beings if you're not aware of it. So you can get a surge of energies like
what the Dogon's vibe used to do is Sirius A and B when they used to land.
Yeah. And like we talked about the lunar, right? For example, the women's menstrual cycle has an effect with the cycle of the moon. So, when people on their days and stuff like that, they act in a state of what we might call lunatic, because they're like, leave me alone. That time of the month, get away from me. Do you know what I mean? Not everyone, but because of this energy that comes in and how it affects their menstrual cycle. Yeah, everything's energy and vibration. So it's kind of like, have you not been in a position where the sun is out, but you're on one side where it's shadow and it feels cold. So you cross over the road to go to the side where the sun is shining and you feel a bit warm because that energy is coming more in that. So I always walk on the side of the sun just to get a little bit, because in England, we don't get it much. So yeah, all right, hope that's helped. Let's keep going. I was here a while back. I still have a very problem with defining truth. What is truth? Can one tell himself something and over a period of time it becomes truth? No. Truth, see, this is where science has to come in, because truth is synonymous with facts, you see, because a truth is something that cannot be disputed. Everyone will agree that it's the truth, unless they're ignorant to the facts. So I think on my last interview with Jumi, I was explaining, I said to her, because she asked me that question, like, can anybody claim to have the truth? And I said, yes, we do as Wu-Sabat, we have the truth. And how do you know? Because you've got to compare it with everything else and see which one makes sense or falls apart and which one has the facts. So you can lie to yourself and say, you could say, this is a sandwich, and tell yourself over and over again that this is a sandwich, but it's not going to become a sandwich. So when you look at things like all of us on the planet are earthlings because this planet is called Earth. So you can safely call everyone on the planet an earthling. There's no arguments with that. We can say
the sun.
the sun. Everyone needs the sun because we share the sun. We can say everybody needs air to breathe. The more you look into something that is a fact, when we say we have the truth, it doesn't mean that you don't find bits of truth in other areas or other things, but those bits are not the whole truth. So you have to bring all those bits together into one to have the whole truth. That's what Wu-Sabat does. Because even when you go to court, they tell you, do you promise or swear to tell the truth? They don't just say, do you promise to tell the truth? They say the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Because you can tell a little bit of truth and the rest of it is lies. And it's still not going to help you. Like the Bible or the Quran, they tell a bit of truth, just enough, the bait to get you involved. And you think, wow, this is real. Until you start to look at the 90 or 95% of lies. And then you're like, or misinformation, because some people don't like to hear that God is lying, but God lies. He lied in the Bible, telling them they're going to die if they eat the fruit that day, where they ate it and they didn't die. So that's a lie, no matter how you want to spin it. But yeah, so we're saying that the question was, can one tell himself something over a period of time and it becomes truth? No, truth is truth. You can't lie to, you can lie to yourself and pretend it's truth. And that's why we have a master's secret called projection and reflection and projection, because that's what people do. They convince themselves that there is a God that is sitting in a place called heaven on a throne, and that he answers all your prayers and he loves you and he's all good. But until you start to like dissect it and go into the things that he's doing, that the sister called earlier on and was saying, if he is responsible for everything, then he's also responsible for the bad or the things that the devil does, you see. So, yeah. All right, let's keep going. Sorry about that. No, okay. Is there a truth that goes through all realms and dimensions? It's called,
Ether.
9 ether. Is there an ultimate truth of knowledge? Yes, knowledge is to know. So, but there's wrong knowledge and there's right knowledge. We teach right knowledge, right wisdom, right understanding. Because that's what technology is. You always have two sides, wrong knowledge and right knowledge. And if you don't know, you're going to think, oh, it's knowledge. But there's right knowledge and there's right knowledge. So you don't want wrong knowledge, you want the right knowledge. I'm going through these quick now. Yes, that book is a must. Get it. As a lotus flower on the front. Yeah, that's what we're talking about, lotus of life. Definitely is a must to get. Please drop the number in the chat. Okay, that's been done. Does everyone in Wu-Sabat, is everyone in Wu-Sabat bilingual? Pretty much, because the master teaches you the languages in the book. So anyone who's reading the scrolls, don't be lazy and miss out the language. Like, whether it's Greek, Hebrew, Arabic, Misbatia, read it, because you will learn over time. Repetition reinforces the knowledge. So he teaches you the languages with the books as well as us learning the language separately. So, yeah. And another thing, that most intelligent people speak more than one language, because it collaborates your brain in a particular way. You reactivate cells that you don't or would not normally use. So learning a language, learning a musical instrument, these are things that push your potential, and why the master has asked us all to really learn a language and learn the language, our language, as well as a musical instrument. Doesn't matter which instrument, even your voice is a musical instrument. So, yes, free Dr. York immediately. It's needed desperately, Hakeem.
True.
Shahada, absolutely, 100%. Everyone can do something about it. Let everyone know what's going on. It's really sad, and the injustice, it's unreal. So we definitely need to, the same way Mandela or Martin Luther King and all these people were fighting for, truth, justice and equality, we need to do the same in this day and time. Okay, They're playing with the live. You all are speaking truth. Yeah, we know. That's Agent Smith. Agent Smith from The Matrix. Sorry, I'm just seeing your tag. I don't think that YouTube tags people. But yeah, you were just making so much sense. You sound like me because none of that stuff has ever made sense to me. Okay, cool. Let's keep going. How can I call? Okay, this is just... What is the name book called? Oh, the name book is called Ancient Egyptian Tamarian Names. I can find you on WhatsApp. I can't find you on WhatsApp. Yeah, but join the Telegram group and we'll give you the WhatsApp. League, you smoking crack. Okay, someone else.
Someone called League was just chatting rubbish.
Oh, okay. We always get trolls, you know, there's always one. Okay, let's go back to the question. Okay, League, forget League. It's the legions, isn't it? The legions. Okay. If the woman came first, then how does the man comes about? We've broken that so many times. The man comes from the woman.
There ain't no man giving birth.
If the woman came first, then how does... Unfortunately, this is a M37VQ. If the woman came first, then how does the man come about? Okay, the man comes... Look at the words, woman. Man is inside woman. Lady, lad is inside lady. Female. Male is inside female. Her. He is inside her. So it's obvious when you really break it down. And we're talking about XX, XY. Even the genetic material, when you look at the chromosomes, you can see that there's less material, for the male. Okay, someone says, it says God made man and woman at the same time. Where does it say that? Because it says God made a man and took the rib of man to make a woman. Are sirens bad evil? They're agreeable and disagreeable ones. Can you touch on how they came about? Who they came from? Yeah, we have I just said the word, aquatic? Yeah, beings that reside in the waters.
The Ogdogs?
Yeah, when you go back to ancient Egypt, you're talking about the frogs and the snakes, and that's dealing with evolution of these beings from the waters. There's a movie or a Netflix series called Sirens that kind of went into that. But you have beings that still live underwater cities. The sea is deep, you know. You see divers, there's a movie recently as well, they dive and they need to have a rope or something attached to them and take submarines and crafts to go down. The seas, they call it the deep seas for a reason, and there are many, many underwater cities that ancient extraterrestrial beings built and are still living in.
I don't even think they've reached the bottom.
No, they can't. That's how deep it is. There's more water than there is land. Oh, the big sister says, I bought that part of that formation a while ago, so I was glad when you read and broke it down. You're welcome. 98K subs. Can't wait till that 100K. Why not you? Yeah, that's right. We can't wait either. Rahubat. So in the Patarak, the formation, Earth is referred to as father. So why do people call it mother? Because Earth...
Geb.
Yeah, Geb, but I was also going to say water is mother. So we say that there's more water than land, and the land came from the water. So, yeah. And mother deals with Mother Nature and the fact that they kind of allude to the fact that God is in heaven, meaning the male, and this terrain is ruled by the woman. because the woman grew hair first and then grew the male. I'm trying to get through this as quick as we can. How do we communicate with our loved ones who have transitioned? Through communication by way of certain rituals that we speak about, and we give you all the details in the Telegram group. But there's a way you open a portal to the other realm, and then you literally have a communication with them. Thanks for reminding me. I got juice. Man, I'll be talking for so long, my throat.
But they be calling it black magic.
Yeah.
Or be all kind of negative terms when we do it. But yeah.
Big sister, it's okay. We're going to give you the information. We don't have any student teachers as mods in the chat today. So, big sister, join the Telegram group and we'll give you the WhatsApp. That's funny. All right, AG, let's address you. Grown men laughing at the thought of bringing a kid to church. Do these guys have Catholic school trauma or what? No, we know religion is the biggest problem on the planet, and it starts off by parents volunteering to take their children to give them over to these spirit forces. So it's not a laughing matter because it's a serious thing, because you're not aware of what you're actually really doing. And if you want to read the Patarak called You All Names and see how important it is that the names you're calling on are spirit forces and spirit beings that are going to affect that child and feed off of the energy of that child and set that child off track. So we're not, we're serious about, not bringing them up in religion, which is really relying on the jinns. We say religion or the legions, which are those beings that are spoken about in the Bible.
And how can we even worship the same religion as our slave masters, the ones that kidnapped us? That don't even make sense. Can't worship the same God as our slave masters.
Maria, yeah, that's a very good question. It's more about integrating the DNA, because when you exchange bodily fluids, that person doing that act actually injects their DNA into yours. But of course, it can affect you spiritually and your soul, because it's a very demoralizing thing to do to someone.
Genetic kiss.
Hey, Rahubat, caller, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's your question, please?
Yes, greetings. My name is Key and I'm calling from Canada.
Rahubat.
Yeah, so my question is, what's your take or what's your interpretation, in the Bible when Jesus was baptized by John the Baptist and then a dove came down and sat on his head? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
All right, thanks.
All right. So that's taken from ancient Egypt, dealing with Khonsu, because it's talking about the spirit, yeah? The dove is a representation of the spirit. And that's why the question is, in religion, in Christianity, what do they teach you about why you get baptized? Part of the reason...
Removal of sin.
The removal of sin. So are they saying Jesus was a sinner? Did he sin? And if John the Baptist was doing the baptizing, then who had more power? So, but again, like I said, a lot of the monotheistic religions teachings come out of ancient Egypt, and it's dealing with that being known as Khonsu, yeah, who was the one that represents the spirit, because you're dealing with the story of Khnum being the one that was
the molder,
the fashioner. So when you start to study ancient Egypt deities and beings, you will align them to where they got the stories from. But then they turned it into, six ether forces that you're actually channeling your energy to. AG, again, this is Wu-Sabat. Wu-Sabat, sorry, it says, if something has the roots and everything comes from it, then it's easy to see how Christianity, right, Islam, and the monotheistic religion came from it. And you can see what they're doing on the planet right now. This is nothing to do with us being businessmen. How many products have we sold you since we've been doing this for a long time, just answering people's questions. Now, you're probably stuck in a particular religion and don't want to change, but whether you accept it or not, the facts are the facts, and that Wu-Sabat is the future. So what I don't get sometimes is why people come on our platform and if they don't support it or don't think it's for them, just go wherever, go to church, go to the
move along
to the mosque, go and do what you think is right for you. But don't try and come and infiltrate and persuade, or you can't persuade people that are using their common sense anyway. Like if they're easily persuaded, then they're probably not meant to be here anyway. So
none of those three religions have proven anything.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Ain't confirmed nothing.
Nothing.
So it's all like, Harry Potter business. It's like fake.
And things of that nature, which is why I never allow anybody to pray over because first of all, I don't know where your heart is. Exactly, 100%. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I lost my youngest son to COVID, pneumonia, a couple of years ago. I miss him dearly. I've only seen him a few times, visited by Orb. Yeah, so you haven't...
You can still communicate.
You can still connect and communicate with him. So first of all, you know, we give you our condolences, if you want to use the term, but are shook to... But yeah, don't feel you haven't lost... We don't lose anybody because energy cannot be destroyed, and it's just in a different realm, different vibration, and you can still make contact. Someone's laughing at me, Sakenda the rapper. When we were restored to our supreme being state, will all these beings that have power over us right now still be able to harm us?
They ain't got power.
No one's got power over you unless you allow them to have it. And you're already a supreme being. You just don't have the information to operate as such. So this is why Wu-Sabat is here. So, and the beings that don't make the shifts, the dimensional shift, and these new consciousness shifts that are coming are not going to be that relevant anyway, because they won't be in your vibration. So, okay, let's keep going. Why do some people say they don't dream? Does it have to do with where they are spiritually? Not necessarily. Not dreaming is not a bad thing, because some people dream because of the chaotic life they live or the things they're subjected to, and in that state they replay a lot of the things that they've recorded, and anxiety and stress and all these things make you store, or movies and certain things that you allow into your matrix. So sometimes not dreaming is not a bad thing. It just means that you've purged a lot of that stuff and you're just, you know, you're not really affected by it. So, but actually everybody dreams every single day. It's just that you don't remember the dreams sometimes. You forget what you had a dream about. So everybody does dream. It's just that the ones that are not really important, or, you know, that you're not supposed to remember, you forget. But the thing is, you have to train yourself to be able to remember your dreams, because you may be in contact, travel and get information, or in contact with your ancestors and things like that. So it's about, disciplining yourself and being able to try and remember your dreams. Someone says, what is it like in the center of the earth? How can we visit?
What's in the center of the earth?
I don't know if British Airways sell tickets to the center of the plane. No, the thing is, it's it depends where you are, and they made movies called Journey to the Center of the Earth, and you know, it proves that there is no hell for a start, because you got openings, North Pole, South Pole, and you can go from one end to the other and come out. So, yeah, I don't even know if you would be welcome to go there, because when you say what is it like, it depends where you go, because there are different caverns,
beings you don't want to even come across.
Yeah, so Admiral Byrd, he kind of went in there by accident when he was flying, went into that subterranean world.
Hitler.
Yeah, Hitler. There were different parts of the world that had openings to go in. So it all depends where you're located. But most of those entrances have now been blocked, or you know they got government officials and just like stopping people from going down it. The pyramids were one of the areas you could go through in Egypt. Let's keep going. Wow, the time was just 21:21 as I looked at it. So we're coming to the last few minutes, 8 minutes to be precise. So if you haven't got your question in,
call in.
Yeah, they can't vibrate beyond certain densities. Okay, I think that's someone else speaking. Yeah, heard the North Pole has been moving gradually. How would that affect us, weather, technologies? Yeah, remember that the plates of the Earth, they shift and they move, and the planet itself is shifting from what it's been on, the 23-degree angle, going back to the original way it was. So there's going to be the tectonic plates and is that the right word?
Catastrophic events,
yeah,
man.
so things are moving and shifting, and different, like we're talking about the tsunamis, the ice is melting, things are shifting. So it will affect different people, different places. This is why you have to stay close and in tune to Wu-Sabat to know where it's going to be safe for you. Rahubat, call out. What's your name? Where are you calling from? And what's your question, please?
Rahubat Sakan and Asaru.
Rahubat.
My name is Rita. I'm calling from the San Francisco Bay Area. I just wanted to say I'm so happy to reach you all. I have tons of books that I've ordered, and just going through them now. I wanted to find out, though, the origins of, at the time when the 6 ether beings took over, what was the agreement 6,000 years ago that allowed them to take over as they have?
Right.
And who were the beings that orchestrated that or agreed to it?
Right. Excellent question. This is where we deal with the Anunnaki and the beings that the covenant was made was with Abraham. And this is why we're saying that people in religion think that whatever is being spoken about is for everyone, because they think it's a universal thing. But most religions were given to specific people because of contracts between these extraterrestrials and those people. So, you know, even in like in the Old Testament, they talk about the Passover, for example, which was dealing with you putting you know, blood or cross on your door to let these extraterrestrials know who the covenant was with and who to not harm and things like that. When you look at Muhammad, it was a covenant between him and specific extraterrestrials to deal with his tribe, the Quraysh tribe only. When you look at Jesus, Jesus's covenant was with just to deal with the children of the lost tribe of Israel. They call them what are they called?
The Nazarite, Judites.
Judah, the tribe of Judah. So when you look at the tribes of Israel, they tell you they were all destroyed apart from the tribes of Judah and Dan. So the covenant is based on, even if you look at the circumcision that people do in the Abrahamic religions, that's because that was, again, a covenant of cutting the foreskin of the penis so that the males could produce more children as food for these gods. So most of what if you study law and study the whole thing with like capitalization of your names and what people call the straw man and all of that, and you look at the Bible, you start to see that it is contracts between these so-called prophets and extraterrestrials to protect certain people. So to answer your question, yeah, a lot of these Anunnaki were the ones that they made certain covenants, and they would choose like only, like for example, Tammuz would be the one that everyone is supposed to go through to get to God, because you didn't have access to these extraterrestrials. So yes, it's going back 6,000 years ago, and this is the Abrahamic religions that have become Christianity today, Islam and Judaism. And this is why they all say that if you don't belong to us or read our book, then you're not a part of us. You're infidel or heathen, or they give you all kinds of names because you're trying to get involved with their stuff, and they're like, it's not really for you. Then you have the so-called, well, they say they're Jews, but they're really dealing with Jebusites as the sons of Canaan, and beings that are known as the Ashkenazim and the Khazars and the Safradim. These are, the ones that when Jesus was speaking, it was like, you are of your father, the devil. Do you remember that quote? I can't remember the quote. No. But yeah, we can find it. You can Google it. But yeah, so you've asked a great question, and that 6,000 years was the agreement that it will end by the year 2000, and it has ended. And that's why now there's a lot of chaos where they're frantic, and because they know that their time is literally up. And that's why COVID, the wars, and all kinds of things that are taking place to depopulate the planet.
Yeah. Well, I can certainly feel that. I think as all people can, it is chaotic, which is so wonderful to be, a part of this and experiencing this, because it gives, this knowledge gives some levity. I was just wondering though, did they have an inkling or understanding that, the six ether beings would be so destructive and so chaotic?
No, that's another excellent question, because everyone says God knows everything. But when you look out for the new video coming out Friday, we kind of went in deep on that, because people say God knows everything, but you don't. You when you're carrying out an experiment, you don't know the outcome. You're trying to figure out what will happen if I do this or if I do that. So you have a hypothesis and you go about trying to get to the outcome.
I see.
Yeah, so, and when you do an experiment, it's got to have a time period when, like it was like when COVID was there was a race to like develop a vaccine that was going to help save people. And that they were racing like, I think, who's going to do it first. So God only knows things after they've happened. That's why he said it grieved him that he had created a man. Like, why didn't you know the man was going to come out wrong? If you know everything and you know what's going to happen before it happens. You see, so yeah, God is limited.
I understand. Well, so in that case too, that they weren't able to, when they started to see the destruction, and they couldn't stop it because of the agreement. Is that right? They were tied to or binded
exactly
to, and letting it play out.
Yeah, because another question that we discussed in the new video coming out was, people say, well, if Africans, in terms of like even the Egyptians, ancient Amerindians, were so smart, how did they not see this coming, or why did they not, prevent it from happening? You got to remember that when you live in a world of peace and there's no chaos, no killing, no wars, nothing, this is where their nature didn't know evil. And it was when they were living in an area, a zone called Nupu, which was peaceful. There were no issues. And then these beings came down, and then, in the Bible it says went in onto them, but you're dealing with raping these beings to produce offspring that God looked at and was like, these are weak and wicked beings. And so now they were they tried to contain them in an area called Zupu, right? But there's the red zone. You had the green zone and the red zone. But even then, they then still mix. So you have people that were in Nupu, the green zone, started to mix with the people in the red zone in Zupu, and vice versa. And then they started to have many offsprings. And then other beings started to come here once they knew that there was this place. And so over time, it just got chaotic to the point where God was like, we got to get a flood to wipe this out and start again, because it's gone out of control. And it's a similar thing that's happening today. And so, yeah, you've got the last question, because it's now literally 21:31. For all those whose questions we didn't get to, ask in the Telegram group. But yeah, do you have anything else you want to say before we round off?
No, I just wanted to say, I think, I know that the 9 ether beings were definitely a targeted group. I mean, and you can see it, throughout history. But I think also the most resilient. And
that's right.
I'm just very proud to be 9 ether. So.
Yeah, but it's not just about we always have to say this. Yeah, anyone who wants to change their vibration and be a part of Wu-Sabat to escape the madness can do that. So, no one wins the race in racism, all right? But yeah, we appreciate your calls.
I agree.
And until next week, everyone, we're landing the plane now. Remember, you've been on a cruise. We said at the beginning, you can now put your seatbelts back on. Time for landing. And this is the captain speaking from Wu-Sabat.
Put your tables up.
Co-pilot. Put your tables up and get ready for us to land the plane. But no, for real, we want to show you appreciate love and ashuk. And without you, there won't be us.
True that.
Always remember the master teacher. Do your best. And join the Telegram group so you can learn how you can actually help. All right? It's not just take. You've got to also give of what you can.
Spread the word.
Spread the word indeed. Like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Until next week, wadu.